Putin has been routinely accused of, quote, hacking the U.S. election, but he may be trying to hack U.S. energy policy as well. Recent reports by U.S. intelligence stated that the Russian government used Russia Today, its English-language propaganda outlet, to air dozens of anti-fracking documentaries and stories. So if Russian support delegitimizes the presidential campaign and the Trump administration, does it also delegitimize the anti-fracking movement? Scott Edwards is co-director of the Food and Water Justice Project and an anti-fracking activist. He joins us from New York. Scott, thanks for joining us.
Sure. Thanks for having me on, Tucker.
So it's a simple question, and it's one that we have to ask in the middle of this new Cold War. Sure. You apparently were the beneficiary of Russian propaganda. Have you or anyone at your organization had contact with Russian intelligence or members of the Russian government in the past several years?
It's absolutely not. It's a ridiculous question. Of course we haven't.
Why is it ridiculous?
Why? Because we work on fracking for the very, very troubling impacts it's having on American health, safety, and welfare. It has nothing to do with what anybody else, when any foreign leader thinks about fracking. I don't know what Putin thinks about fracking. I don't care what Putin thinks about it.
We do know what he thinks about it. The U.S. intelligence. Well, no, you do too. You're an American. You must have read the U.S. intelligence report on the Russian influence on the election, and it said the Russian government has mounted an anti-fracking campagn in the United States. It aired it publicly on RT, a bunch of documentaries. I'm sure you agree with them.
Listen,
and so it's a fair question. Were you hacked as well?
Absolutely not. I don't follow what Putin thinks about fracking. If you want to know what Putin thinks about fracking, perhaps you should talk to Rex Tillerson. He and ExxonMobil signed an agreement with Russian energy companies back in 2012 to start fracking in Russia. So I have no doubt that once the sanctions are lifted, that there will be fracking in Russia, and perhaps then Putin will be a fan of fracking because he'll be making money off of it. We focus on fracking. It's not a political issue for us. It's not a partisan issue for us. We focus on fracking because of the documented significant impacts that fracking is having on surface water, on air quality, on climate. That's why we work on fracking, not for partisan reasons, not for political reasons. Putin's views on fracking are irrelevant to our efforts.
Okay, that's a fair answer, and to be totally blunt with you, I was asking half in jest because it points up the ludicrous nature of the debate we're having on Russia right now. Your views happen to align with Vladimir Putin, so it doesn't delegitimize your views, to be totally honest with you.
Right.
And I think that not all of your views are crazy, but I also think that energy extraction is always a mixed blessing. I mean, it's never all good. There's always some risk, but given that fracking, whatever risks it entails, has also basically made the United States energy independent and lowered the cost of energy for poor people in this country. There's a lot of goodness that comes out of fracking. Will you at least acknowledge that it's been really good for huge parts of the country and we're less dependent on the Saudis? Like, why is that bad?
No, it's another form of fossil fuel extraction.
Well,
it's been bad for this country.
By definition.
For example, in Pennsylvania in 2014, they released the results of 243 instances of groundwater drinking water contamination from the practice. If you look at Wyoming, Texas, Colorado, again in Pennsylvania, Dimmock, case after case after case of how fracking is impacting the health, safety, and welfare of Americans on a regular basis. A recent report last week just estimated out of the thousands and thousands of wells in this country that up to 17% of them are experiencing leaks on a regular basis.
Okay, and I mean, look, and I'm willing to stipulate that that's true. I mean, I think you're likely overstating it, but there are risks. Why wouldn't there be? There's risk in everything. My only point to you is, do you see the other side? So fracking is taking place in some of the most economically depressed regions of the United States, and there's no denying that the people living there, where it's been legalized, have really benefited from it. These places, there are no jobs in these places at all. Now, you live in New York City among rich people. Can you at least look out and say, yeah, there's been a real upside economically from fracking?
Those people should be given jobs in renewable energy systems, not in fossil fuel extraction systems. I think that we could all agree,
so
we should all agree, I think we should all agree that as a nation, as a world, as a planet, that we'd be better off if we were 100% renewable solar and wind as soon as possible, and we put aside our fossil fuel addiction. I think that's what we should be driving towards.
I get it, but as you know, since you follow this, we're literally nowhere near anything like that. There's no way to store that energy, as you know. So, like, can we just be real for a second? We'd all like to see wind and solar as the basis of our energy program, but we're not 10 years away from that. We're not 20 years away from that. So why can't we just say that out loud? Or do we have to pretend it's going to happen tomorrow?
We're not 100 years away from that if we allow ExxonMobil and the other energy companies to dictate what our energy policies are in this country, which is what we've been doing. I mean, we look around this world and we see a country like a highly industrial country like Germany, July 25th, 2015, the summer of 2015, 2016, they achieved 78% of their electricity needs through pure renewable energy. Small developing countries like Costa Rica is up to 99% renewable. Even Uruguay is now at 95%.
That's totally. I mean, throwing Costa Rica in a non-industrial country like that is just.
I just raised Germany.
It's just
Germany
silly.
is an industrial nation. 78%. What I don't understand, though, Tucker, is you're a conservative. You believe in American exceptionalism. Why are we checking American exceptionalism at the door when it comes to renewable energy generation? No, I actually believe in asking straightforward questions and getting non-polemical answers. And I think you're smart enough to just give me a straight answer, but you're not. Here's one. Here's a simple one. Where are you on nuclear power? No one has died. We are against nuclear power.
Why would you be? Why would you be against? You know why? Because your donors are against it. There's no.
No, it's not because our donors are against it.
Then what's the reason?
The reason against nuclear power is because nuclear waste is highly toxic and dangerous. We want to see renewables. Nukes are not renewable power. We want to see solar. We want to see wind. We want to see geothermal.
There is a literally limitless supply of the energy that comes from nuclear power. So renewable doesn't play into it.
There's a limited supply of energy coming from the sun. I would rather see sunlight providing our energy systems.
But look, if you care about CO2 emissions, and presumably you do,
absolutely.
Nuclear power produces, let's see, none. It doesn't pollute if kept contained, and the amount of waste actually is negligible, and no one has ever died from it. So why would you be from a scientific perspective?
No one's ever died from nuclear power?
In this country. I'm not aware of anyone who has.
Right, and it's a matter of time before we have more nuclear accidents.
It's been
and
like
we have
50
nuclear
years.
waste buried out in...
I'm sure, but
why would we want to have radioactive waste as a byproduct of our energy system?
Deep in a salt mine because it doesn't hurt anyone?
When we can move to renewables. I mean, listen, I think what we can agree, I think that what the basis of our disagreement is how quickly can we get to renewables, and how can we create the drive and the motivation to get there as quickly as possible. I don't think that tomorrow we're going to wake up Saturday and have 100% renewables in this country. But if we go down the path that we're going, well, we have a goal. My organization has a goal that we believe that we can get to 100% renewable energy in our electricity generating sector by 2035 if we put our minds to it.
Yeah.
And there are lots of...
in the meantime, do you use cars or airplanes or anything like that? And if you do,
of course, we're not asking people to go back to the Stone Age and live in caves and light candles.
Saying, well, hold on, I'm saying not people. I mean you, who thinks that those things are destroying the planet. Why not opt out of them?
Listen, we don't believe that consumers are the problem here. We're not blaming consumers. I'm
asking about you, not consumers. You personally.
I am a consumer. I am a consumer.
Okay, but you also run this organization dedicated to getting rid of fossil fuels. So it's a fair question.
We are dedicated to getting rid of fossil fuels and replacing it with new energy sources. Not asking people and not asking myself to go out without energy and without electricity. We understand that we live in a current situation in which we rely on cars, we rely on fossil fuels because that's how the system is now structured. We're not saying to get rid of that tomorrow and shut down our fossil fuel production tomorrow. We're saying that we need to transition as soon as possible for the betterment of this planet and for our children and grandchildren to 100% renewables. It's a simple message.
Can I ask you one really last question?
Sure.
So you're worried about fracking. It runs through these pipes. It could contaminate groundwater. You live in New York City. There are countless sewer pipes and natural gas pipes commingled with water pipes. Are you worried about that? I mean, that seems like it would be a real risk, having human waste flowing next to your drinking water.
Right. That's why we also work on sewage treatment systems and Clean Water Act issues and lots of other issues.
You still got to have sewage pipes, right?
You
still got to have sewage pipes.
You absolutely do have to have sewage pipes until we come up to a better technology. Yes, we do, and we work on it. The difference between sewage pipes and fracking pipes is sewage pipes are regulated, highly regulated under the Clean Water Act. Listen, it was no mistake back in 2005 when Dick Cheney and Halliburton and his buddies passed exemptions from literally every environmental law, every law in this country that heard the word clean, healthy, and safe in it for the fracking industry. That's not an accident.
All right. Scott, thanks for joining us today.
Sure,
Appreciate
thanks.
it.
Good night.
Up next.